So I wrote 10 self-published books in the last 15 years, and then I had a breakthrough. Derby Love, the one I wrote about my mum, 4 publishers, 2 really big ones, 2 medium-sized ones came in and said, we'll buy it, and we'll also buy You're Gonna Be Okay. The Derby Love, that was written super quick. It sort of hung out in me for a fair few years, and I thought I'd never write it, but I did, and that went quite viral. But You're Going to Be Okay, it's longer, but it's almost like a best of those 10 self-published books that I wrote over 15 years. The best bits of it, some of the best lines some of the times I've reworked them, sometimes I've left them as they are. And I've added a lot of new stuff I've written over the last few years as well that haven't been in any of those self-published books. And so those 2 books are out by Andrews McMeel, which is amazing. It's a breakthrough for me. Even though the models of publishing are kind of changing, I have to try it. It's kind of like, I have to do this. I have to see what happens. Publishing through Andrews McMeel and a traditional publisher. So now I find I'm writing a 3rd book as fast as I can to try and catch this moment, this window where things kind of are working. I always said were working. And I've written something like 100 pages I cracked today after 6 months. And I've never written that fast in my life. I've normally a 40-page book takes me a year. I've written 100 pages in 6 months. And there's a lot of good stuff in it. This new one that I'm working on, and I'm sort of playing with it. Putting it on, I'm posting some parts on social media. I'm trying to work out what it's trying to tell me, where it wants to go. And I feel like it's finally told me what it wants to be. But also, I feel like, because I've written it so fast, just in over 6 months, rather than You're Going to Be Okay, which is kind of written over many seasons of the heart. This new one that I've written in 6 months, it's good, and there's some pieces in it that have really taken off on social media and resonated. But I read all the way through it, and some part of it feels kind of like bloodless, or a bit thin, or unlived, or something. Of course, I'm 50 years old. I'm lucky to be 50 and writing stuff, because I've had all this life experience that I can bring to it anyway. If I was 30, I'd be struggling. And there's a lot of authors who pump out a book a year for traditional publishers, poetry pub that I see. And I want to try and write a book in a year that's much longer than the stuff that I've published in the past, 40 pages. I want to try and get to 250 pages. But I can feel that the energy of this book, it's getting repetitive. It feels a bit thin. It's written in kind of one gear of one season of the heart. And to extend that metaphor, I always feel like there's always a part of us that's a bit numb to the world, and we don't even realise it's asleep until one day you go, oh, I haven't felt that way in ages. I remember that feeling. And that's the part of me that I need to wake up. The one that's been writing it has had its say. I could probably finish the entire 250 pages off by making it stay up all night, but I need to put it to sleep. And I really like it, and I think it's one of the best things I've written. But I can tell that there is a thinness to it, and I'm leaning on the same tricks. As soon as I mention the word tricks, then I know I'm tricking myself. Like there are a lot of poems in it that I've written that I go, oh, I didn't know I thought that. That's the good stuff. But there are a lot of poems where I can see I've gone, okay, we'll take that step and that old step, and finally put a neat bow around it, just like that. Oh, that's a perfect one. And sometimes it can trick an audience, but I know I'm tricking myself. And I don't mind tricking an audience, like a couple of poems where I go, oh, I just wrote that and I posted it and it went viral. I didn't mean it. It just happened to. I'm putting it in the book. There's a couple of them in You're Going to Be Okay. But there are also like poems that I've really thought this is great, and the audience haven't liked it at all. And there's a few of them in it as well. So it's always a weird mixture. But yeah, I'm struggling. I've never written a book so fast, and it's fun. I feel like I'm flying by the seat of my pants, but it also feels thin. So I feel like I'm going to have to write maybe twice as much, or at least smack it in half by the time I feel like I've got to a page count. Yeah, so what I've been doing too is I've been checking out all these sort of insta-poets, which I'm kind of in that category now. I like not being taken academically seriously. I like being able to be instantly relatable to someone who does not care about poetry or even reading. That's the kind of audience I like, because I didn't care about poetry until I read poetry that was actually readable, and just not political. Didn't force me into a corner and tell me how to think. Yeah, I've been checking out the poets, my fellow insta poets, and how a lot of them are pumping out a book a year. Sometimes 1.5 a year, which is amazing. I don't know how they do it. But I want to try and get, but I was doing that too with self-publishing. Their books are like 200 to 250 pages long. Mine were just 40 pages long. So I'm trying to write equivalent to me 5 books in a year. So 5 times as much. So what I'm also doing is reading bad reviews for books in my genre, and like self-help books, because I used to love self-help in my 20s. Like, I didn't know how the world worked. I found it fascinating. It was often kind of ridiculed, but I found the best self-help was in poetry from last century. I was like, oh my God, this poetry is helping me more than anyone modern could ever do. Any modern psychology. Poetry from a long time ago. And so I always gravitated towards poetry that was kind of a self-help. Well, not even deliberately self-help. But there's a lot of deliberate self-help poetry now. And you find a lot of that. That's a lot of insta poets are self-help poetry. And I guess my stuff is borderline that now. Yeah, I love reading bad reviews for other poets in my genre, and initially I thought I was doing it out of some schadenfreude, however you say that word, sort of glee in other people's failure, and I felt guilty for reading bad reviews of other people's poetry in my genre, and then I realised, no, I'm actually learning. I'm learning what mistakes have been made, what I can do better, or what I can't do better. And I find reading bad reviews for books that you love, or books in what you're in the same kind of space that you're doing, is really helpful. It's not initially I felt a bit grubby. It's like, oh, I don't want to read about someone shitting on someone else's art, because they've tried so hard. I know how it feels. I've had some shitty reviews, but it's helpful. Instead of reading your own bad reviews, you read other people's bad reviews, and you don't have to take it as personally, but you can find out what people, not in a marketing exercise. I don't feel like it's a marketing exercise to try and bend your writing to fit certain commercial expectations, but you get a sense of what people are really yearning for in a world that's super confusing. You don't really get that in extremely positive reviews, but it's like people tap into a more truthful emotion when they're writing a often negative reviews, even if it seems like it's coming from a not a helpful or good place. There's a lot of interesting stuff to be gleaned from bad reviews. I remember I used to look up bad reviews for magic acts in Las Vegas. I felt like that was a way of, because poetry is kind of a magic, and so it was kind of fun to see people go, oh, the magician's not trying hard enough or whatever. That was really fun. I feel like a lot of the criticism I've read from other people's, a lot of traditional Instagram poets who are famous, is they got these really fat books that are really, really popular, but very repetitive, like saying the same thing over and over again. And that's what I feel like I'm doing with the work that I'm working on right now, trying to rush out a book. I've done 100 pages of a lot of it's good, but I can almost feel the sameness of it. I'm stuck in a gear, and no amount of good writing is going to change that unless I have new life experiences, bring something new to it that I haven't already, and you're going to be okay. I feel like I covered everything so well, and you're going to be okay. So I'm struggling with this third book, but I'm also not. Like, it's one of my favorite things, but also I can see the sameness and how I'm falling into the same trap as a lot of other insta poets who put out a book a year, and the complaint is I just read a whole bunch of stuff that is really repetitive over and over again, said in different ways. This could have been an email, or that's another classic complaint. But yeah, I'm going to keep pushing on with this book, walking into walls and trying to make something sing. The last 4 days, I wrote for hours and hours, and all I ended up with was a headache at the end of it. And then just as I gave up, something good came to me. That was about why I check the forecasts, and it's just to see if I'm alive tomorrow, because if it's raining tomorrow, it's likely that my heart's going to be there as well. Something like that. I was like, where'd that come from? I was just beating myself up for days, and then that turned up. But anyway,